40 years ago tomorrow saw the birth of one of Britain's best-loved institutions, the pop charts. There's now a proliferation of charts covering everything from rock, dance, jazz and classical music. But with more choice in formats as well as music, the 7-inch single is no longer the coveted item it once was, raising questions about the credibility of the top 40. Our arts correspondent Fiona Murch reports now on the past and future of the pop classic.
For 40 years, the singles charts have been hailed as a barometer of popular taste and a mirror for youth culture. A brilliant marketing ploy for the record companies, the charts have thrown up both the bizarre and the predictable.
You've lost your love when I saw her.
For some, the excitement of their first purchase will never be forgotten.
I think there's something about that black plastic that you just put that needle on there and it's going round and it's just and that music.
An enthusiasm begun with his first record in 1959 has become a passion. Brian Melville is now a collector.
That connects with when I was a kid. And don't forget, there are collectors now that weren't a kid at the time. But the connection is you're buying a piece of history.
Greetings, pop pickers. It's Pick of the Pops.
It may sound the same, but much has changed since Alan Freeman began the program that reflected and boosted the popularity of the first singles chart.
In those days, things seemed to centre around the excitement of single sales and the top 20. In the 90s, things have changed. They've changed very much. There is now a lot more for young people to do, and young people, particularly I think at this particular stage of the game, because of the price of CDs, etc., don't want to buy singles, they want to buy albums. They also want to buy video games.
An exhibition at London's South Bank Centre traces the changes that technology have wrought in the industry.
My hair is curly.
Filmed performances gave way to the pop video. These specially made music promos boosted record sales and rapidly became a vital marketing tactic. Increasingly sophisticated, the cost of producing the single has soared.
Whereas maybe a few years ago you could get into the market at £5,000. By the time you put all the costs of the video, the making of the record, the mixing of the record, you could be nowadays talking £50,000, £60,000.
At the same time, revenue on individual singles has decreased. In the 60s and 70s, singles needed to sell at least 20,000 copies a week to get into the charts, and at least 100,000 to make #1. Now it's possible to enter the top 40 with just a few thousand and rise to the top with only 50,000 sales a week.
We don't make any money on singles. We would make money on a single selling over probably 200,000 copies, but singles that sell 200,000 copies are few and far between now. They are basically a vehicle, you know, economically and creatively to sell albums.
I think the record companies have given up on the single in a really rather sad way. They didn't have to. They now see the single not as a work of art, but as an artifact, pure promotional artifact. The start of this was Michael Jackson with his album Off the Wall, and every Jackson album subsequently, every single track virtually, and I think in the case of Off the Wall, every single track was either released as an A-side or a B-side.
The authority of the original chart has been undermined by the advent of many more, which regularly disagree, and there's the problem that the 12-inch single market is dominated by the dance scene, and that distorts the charts.
Hi, good evening and
After 28 years as the TV chart show, Top of the Pops celebrates its 1500th edition. As questions are asked about the continuing relevance of the singles charts, Top of the Pops has come under critical scrutiny. A slump in audience figures over the summer from around 8 million to 5 million fueled rumours that the show would be axed. Last week, the BBC ruled out an immediate death sentence, insisting the 5 million was a freak low and the show would continue at least until the end of 1994. But in the meantime, the programme has had to make concessions to the changing habits of the music-buying public.
7, 8, 2 next.
Songs are included from the top 10 album chart and the top American chart, and artists are no longer allowed to mime but must sing live.
Is Mr. Diamond intending using the cue cards on the night?
Yes.
Is he?
At the end of the day, being in the singles charts may not bring immediate fortune, but it's still the best advert for the profitable album sales.
I believe in the single. I think it, you know, and I believe in the video concept of the single. I think for my personal career, that's probably been the basis of sort of the reason of the success is a good song.
Stand by for all the hits in full on the only chart that counts.
Although Radio 1 continues with the weekly chart show, there is acknowledgement of its diminishing relevance, and the general programme playlist has been changed.
Just because a record's in the top 40 doesn't mean it will necessarily go on the playlist. Some will, some won't. But of course there are a lot of tracks on the playlist that will never go in the top 40. New bands with a brand new single out. They may not make the chart. It doesn't matter to us.
But it matters to the record companies. The weekly publication of the playlist is awaited as anxiously as the charts by the company representatives. They firmly believe that one helps the other and both promote sales.
I got playlist.
Mine wasn't even bloody presented.
Really bad.
Radio 1 still seems to be the one that sells records. It's as simple as that. And especially singles.
If you've got Radio 1 support, it's the best thing that you can have, because you will get anything from about 8 to 25 plays a week on your record.
It's a marketing system difficult for new artists to break into. The pleasure lords, who are cutting their own single to use as an advert, believe it narrows consumer choice. Record companies are limiting their risks, generally backing established artists and picking up new talent from the independent sector on the basis of chart success.
If we were less resilient, we'd probably given up by now. You know, I'm sure it frightens a lot of people off. It's like running a gauntlet at the moment. You go in to see an A&R man and he asks you where you fit in, and that's so stupid. The point of pop music is not to fit in.
It's an industry keen on change. Next week, yet another new music format is launched, the mini-disc, supposedly even better than the CD, which in turn has superseded the 7-inch single. The immediate threat is not to the charts, only the old technology.
Fiona Murphy.